Turf Talk with Drew Miller.
On this week's episode of Tiger Turf Talk, we host the managing editor of the Golf Course Industry magazine, Mr. Matt Lawell. What an incredible episode hosted at the Golf Course Superintendents Association of America conference in the lovely city of San Diego. Matt has been a long-time supporter of our program, and it's been great to be able to hang out with him over the last few weeks. First at the SFMA conference, being able to talk and discuss different things with our kids, and our students having the opportunity to go on one of their podcasts. To here in this podcast in San Diego, reconnecting to just, again, talk about the love of our industry and everything that goes on, and talking with the industry professionals and being able to make that connection over, again, the love of relationships and talking to people and hearing about what they're doing, how it's impacting different ways people are doing things. And in this episode, it's just great to talk to another person who goes through these motions and discusses these important topics and makes sure that everyone understands what really truly is important in our industry and what is going on right now. I highly recommend you guys go subscribe to the Golf Course Industry magazine. Follow all their podcasts on the Superintendent Radio Network, from Tartan Talk to Beyond the Page, all these different incredible podcasts that bring in golf course superintendents firsthand, discussing what they're doing and how their lives are going and what their work is, and just, again, incredible content all around. And Matt has always been someone who is out there supporting each and every one of us and trying to get our voices heard. So again, we cannot thank him enough for taking the time, and again, becoming a great friend with Matt over the past couple years has been fantastic. So we can't thank you enough, and we hope you enjoy this episode of Tiger Turf Talk.
70.
Number 70.
How much more can you give us? Was it big man or big guy?
I don't know.
That was the Mark McGuire home run call.
Oh, yeah. Well, welcome to this very special episode of Tiger Turf Talk on site at the Golf Course Superintendents Association of America conference.
And trade show.
Obviously, because you are on the trade show.
It's so much longer than GIS or the National.
Wasn't it? They changed it, right?
It was GIS. It was the National before that.
Jeez. We have the managing editor of Golf Course Industry magazine, Mr. Matt Lawell, a huge supporter of our program. How you doing today on this lovely afternoon in San Diego?
It is beautiful.
For everyone that's jealous.
Well, I love this. We're in your hotel.
Yeah.
We're in this open courtyard, and there are trees planted in the courtyard, which people cannot see if they're watching this.
You can see it now.
But it's completely open, and it is this wonderful blue sky. Maybe a couple clouds, probably not.
Yeah. And
I left snow and ice.
I was going to say the crazy weather of Ohio.
I think it's going to melt. We'll see.
Everybody send out a prayer so that Ohio's melted by the time of next Saturday.
Well, I was hanging out yesterday with Owen Stone, his twin brother Cody Stone, and the superintendent Brett Bailey from the Queechee Club in Vermont. Great course. And they got even more. I'm like, well, Vermont, you guys make us look like amateurs.
That's always funny, because I remember as a kid getting stuck in New Hampshire for holidays and, again, Christmas, and went over into the New Year's, even though it wasn't planned. 2 feet of snow was like normal on a Saturday. I'm like, I'm just 4 inches in New Virginia shutting down. I mean,
little Virginia Drew.
Well, I'm gonna say everybody that remembers, I think it was like a month and a half now ago, but 95 for our listeners that are not from Virginia, the 95 shutdown was actually our county at the very top where everything started, where even the senator of Virginia was stuck on the highway. It was Tim Kaine, I think.
Yeah, former vice presidential nominee, I think.
Yes, I believe so. I think it was 10 years ago now, something like that. But I mean, a lot of great opportunities. So this is my first golf show, Golf Course Superintendents Show in America. Woo! Normal, again, GIS before. What has it been like for you to see, again, this grow to where it is now, being completely different and completely just, again, this massive, obviously from what I've heard, it's down in numbers,
Right.
because of COVID, obviously. But what's it been like for you to see sort of this grow and everything that goes with it?
Well, to be honest, I mean, it's
Looks like we're
okay.
No, it's okay.
I mean, this is only my second in person.
Really?
Yeah. And Orlando was my first 2 years ago. It was obviously much bigger because Orlando's a lot easier for a lot of folks in the industry to get to. It's not that San Diego's not a tourist destination, but Orlando has all the parks. Orlando has airport infrastructure. Walt Disney fell in love with it in the 60s.
Yep.
Trivia fun fact.
Here we go.
Walt Disney picked Orlando as the site for Disney World on November 22nd, 1963. Comes down out of the helicopter.
Yeah.
Finds out JFK's been assassinated.
Jeez.
Random
fact.
Random confluence.
Did you know that our county was supposed to be the site for the Disney Park revolutionary themed outside of DC? Fact.
I did not.
Fun fact. They had a whole park designed around the founding fathers and everything. And when it came to it, they had the the lovely people that are now built up the developments and everything that blocked it and was just like, hey, no, we're not interested in Disney. Yeah, I would have been working at the Mouse House for when I was in high school.
A couple of summer jobs.
Just a few, But no, yeah, it's kind of crazy to see how things change with that. So you have seen a lot of people that recently.
I feel like I've seen a lot. It's probably not been that many.
Which is again, that's just a feeling from coming back from COVID and everything. What have you been looking forward to this week? And sort of, obviously, you're on the trade show floor with Booth, so we can shout that out.
That's a good question. let me double check. I think it's 3856.
Gotcha.
I think. Let me see what I read.
They're very close to our presentation, which is on the trade show floor.
3856.
Boom.
We're in the back by one of the concession areas.
Concession areas next to the Toro booth, and I think it's like one area from the H stage, which I saw this morning. It was doctors, PhDs versus superintendents. It was pretty funny.
Oh, yeah. That was Matt Gorley moderating that, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It was really funny because they were all just up there like, hey, I'm better than you. I know more than you. And it's like, you know what? We all agree on the same stuff because everybody's worked together on everything.
It's not a competition.
All the PhDs are like, hey, I know this. Like, what you're saying is correct. So there's nothing to be arguing about who won this, who won that, right? But no, they had a great time. It was pretty funny. Gorley did a great job of moderating.
He's basically a game show host.
Absolutely.
He's so
100%. It was pretty fun.
Have you had him on?
I have not.
You should get Matt Gorley.
I would love to have him on. I have to up my golf side. But I've told you a few of I've invited and I've had conversations. I sent the questions ahead of time usually.
Not this time.
Didn't do it for you because again I wanted it to be more of a conversation. But I sent them and then like it was like 4 times. Did I do something wrong? I'm sorry. You get back to me so I know. Won't drop any names, but I was excited to have him on. It just didn't work out. So
that happens.
Got a few good ones. We got Paul. Hasn't been released yet. Sorry. Trying to think of the last golf. I believe it was. Oh, geez, that's a while. Can be working. Creighton, you know what I'm talking about?
I do. She was one of our Super Social Media Award winners along with you
You
last
had
year.
her on. Yeah.
Women in Turf up in Canada.
Yeah, they're doing great stuff up there. It's great. And I think they're doing better in the U.S. I could be wrong. But yeah, we've had some great golf. We had Blake Mintemeyer on a while back. That's the part. It's getting like years now that we've been doing this, and I'm like, really? Was it that long? Like, because COVID again. COVID's 2 years now.
Yeah.
From when it first started.
By the time this drops, yeah.
It's just like I completely forgot. We're 2 years into this, so just keeping up with all those people has been kind of crazy. But with you, obviously a lot of people know you for what you do. If you could give our listeners sort of a background of Golf Course Industry Magazine. We obviously have worked together in the past. You guys did an absolutely phenomenal piece on our program.
Well, Lee Carr. All credit to Lee.
Lee is amazing. She actually did some Gen Z stuff with her kids this year.
That'll be on the line by the time this drops as well.
There we go.
In the February issue.
A couple of our kids who are golfers. I believe one is looking to go into the industry. Maybe not specifically golf, but he's trying to work in the industry on his way up. Barrett's just a great kid, and she's awesome. So she was
profiled in that package.
She wanted to be a D1 golfer. Didn't really work out, and she hates me when I say it. I'm like, this is my D1 golfer. She's like, no, I'm not a D1 golfer. I'm like, Barrett's fine. Okay. It's fine. You are in our hearts, It's all okay. Could you just sort of give us an idea when it started, how the magazine sort of came to where it is now, and hopefully what your guys' plans are for the future?
Yeah, so Golf Course Industry, still a monthly magazine, still reliant on advertising revenue, not subscribers, so it's very stable. Awesome. I don't think we're going anywhere. Profitable, I think, 10 years in a row now. So we're doing well. We like to pride ourselves on being the leading independent voice in the industry. We give voice to as many people as we can, whether that's superintendents, assistant superintendents, equipment technicians, students, anybody involved in turf maintenance in any capacity, and whether that's in writing, in podcast form. You've been killing it for a year and a half on podcasts.
Thank you. So have you.
And every December, we open up the pages to anybody in the industry who wants to write. Turf Heads Takeover. I believe we're 6 issues into that now. Yeah. Six years. Everything online, golfcourseindustry.com. Everything in the magazine is at golfcourseindustry.com/magazine. Subscriptions are free for anybody in the industry. The Superintendent Radio Network. And I think we're going on 15 years. I've been on board for about 3. My editor, Guy Cipriano, the editor-in-chief of the magazine. I think he's been there about 7 years, maybe 8 years.
Yes, I did play on words there.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He's great to work with. He's not here at this show. He will be at TOCA in May.
What's TOCA?
Turf and Ornamental Communicators Association. You should actually join.
I have so many organizations that everybody's like, hey, you should join. I'm like, I'm just trying to keep up with the couple that I have right now, Big one, NALP. I just saw they just came out with Parks and Rec, their own organization. I'm like, jeez, there's too much going on.
You're gonna have like 20 organizations.
Yeah. So in our presentation tomorrow, we took a survey, and one of them is like, who's a part of what organization? And believe it or not, there's only one GCSAA member, and that's me.
Wow.
Out of the 53 high schools that took part in the survey.
I still need to get those results from you.
Yeah, I'll send them over.
And the good doctor.
The good Dr. Goatley. Yeah. You gotta love that man.
But yeah, the just to wrap up what GCI is.
Sorry,
no, you're good. You're good. Lots of non-sequitur, not non-sequiturs, lots besides.
Yeah.
Guy came up with the 3 C's, which are caring, candid, and creative. That kind of describes what we do. And then we recently, in our mission statement, had the 3 N's, which are, see if I can get this right, innovative. I'm blanking on the second one, and inclusive.
Integrated?
I don't think it's that. But the third one is inclusive.
That's good.
Meaning,
everything.
Everybody's
do so much more than just turf related stuff. I was at SFMA with Leah, and you guys did a whole thing on not grass related conversation, which is awesome.
Right.
Which again, a lot of people don't really take into account, and it's
it's the human side.
Exactly. Yeah. This show is brand new to me. I'm meeting so many new people that I've never known before, and hopefully I'll be able to see the people I want to see, like Matt Wharton. I need to say thank you to him with everything with Rowland and whatnot. But there are just so many people out there that you don't know their story, And by getting that sort of little insight this morning, I forget his name. The guy at Pinehurst, number 2. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, you're talking about John Jeffries?
Yes, John Jeffries.
He's fantastic.
He won an award this morning, that Colonel something.
Oh,
I feel terrible.
Was that the Morley?
Yes, Colonel Morley.
Yeah.
So he was the first recipient, and it was again, it's much bigger now, award. But he was talking about how his dad impacted his career and how his father was a superintendent and everything. And it's things like that where you get to see the person, my thing, me and my dad have a great relationship. I'm an educator because of, like.
I mean, he was a chaperone for
Exactly.
the kids at the SFMA show.
Oh God.
Yeah.
That was good.
I think he loved it.
Oh yeah, he was freaking out for some stuff. He was like, I never knew. I'm like, now you know. If he came to this, he wouldn't be as impressed because I don't know anymore. But,
give it a year or two. You'll be fine.
We'll see. But I mean, with everything, it's just crazy to take those things out of, again, what their context is in their positions, And again, another thing about these conferences is seeing everyone has the same struggles, everyone has the same issues, and I think you guys bring attention to that a lot when it comes to your guys writing and articles and podcasts. The other thing we're pretty good friends, and you're a huge support.
I'd say so.
Yeah. Again, I didn't want to make any judgment calls, but you're a huge supporter of our program. I was very interested to do a podcast with someone else who does their podcast, their own podcast, having that conversation. I haven't had anyone on that runs a podcast. So
it's weird to be on the other side.
No, exactly.
But we're using my mic.
Exactly. We're using his mic for sure. But again, what is it like for you and those, again, I think I was one of your first ones in your, not overall, but what was it?
It was
Beyond the Page.
Yeah.
Okay.
Might have been the first or second episode.
I think, again, one or two, whatever. I remember that was the first full conversation I ever had with you. And it was great. I mean, it was just, there were so many things that you talked about, and I try to do that when we're doing ours, but what's it like for you, again, sort of running those podcasts off of, again, articles or things that you guys are working on, sort of further seeing and giving that little insight of beyond the page or beyond the person themselves, I mean,
it's really just, when I was pitching ideas for podcasts about 2.5 years ago, one was just like, why don't we have an audio version of the magazine? And that would have been so boring, because then you would have heard me reading every story. The columnists.
I think there's somebody that does that. I could be wrong.
The columnists reading their columns. The aforementioned Matthew Ward, America's Greenkeeper, and
Everybody would be like, ooh.
Dr. Bradley S. Klein, and Henry Delozier, and Tim Morgan, and maybe even Terry Buchan reading his equipment hacks column, and Guy reading his column. That would have been fun, but I would have read every story. That would have been boring. So it's kind of just taking a different angle and not stepping on the toes of what's already in print,
100%, yeah,
and giving people just another area to listen to. And that's one podcast. So there's Beyond the Page, Off the Course. We try to focus on the lives and outside interests of turf pros. Leo was on that not too long ago. Guy talks with architects on Tartan Talks,
which is awesome.
Greens with Envy, Guy and me just talking about where we've been and who we've seen. And we've actually added two more monthly podcasts to the network, the Superintendent Radio Network, just this year. Wonderful Women of Golf, which had been bi-monthly, hosted by one of our contributors, Rick Wolfel. The qualifications to be on the show are, do you work in golf? And are you a woman? And he's had some great guests. And thanks to a grant that we applied for and got last year, we were able to take that from 6 months or 6 times a year to 12 times a year. And then Trent Manning out of Ainsley in Georgia, who's done a great job over almost last year with Real Turf Techs, opening up a podcast by and for equipment technicians.
I remember the first episode.
Yeah.
It was incredible. Like, this is completely different than everything that's out.
And he still does a weekly one. We just have one a month. It's on Superintendent Radio Network. It's sponsored. We try to get him a little bit of money, and he's on now too. So we just try to expand the scope a little bit more. And
absolutely,
I don't know. I don't have time to listen to all the podcasts, so I don't know.
A lot of people are always like, "Hey, Drew, do you listen to your podcast?" I'm like, "No, I don't listen to my podcast. I don't have any time for that." What do you mean? Oh, you're listening to your own podcast.
My playlist is 98 things deep right now. It's ridiculous.
There are some that I listen to, like the real turf technician. What is it?
Real Turf Techs.
Okay, they have some great content. Again, stuff that I wish I knew more about. I know you mentioned the Dirt on Turf podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know anything really about it, but it's something that I can't really sit through the whole time. I'm a podcast guy. I don't listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I listen to a ton. Yeah. And it's just the trick is to maximize. It's tough to listen to anything at single speed.
Yeah.
1.2 bare minimum.
1.5
is ideal.
Gotcha.
I wish I could listen to it at 1.65, 1.7, because 1.8 is just a little too fast on a lot of them.
Something else that I love again about our podcast and about podcasts in general is the network you build. I was on the Midway last night, getting crazy. Again, not knowing many people. I mean, I ran into a few people I know.
I'm on a boat.
Still, it was more the fact they were dropping people from a helicopter onto the deck.
I saw the video, yeah.
I was like, yep, this is not the same as SFMA. It's a little different. But I ran into, I forgot his name. So John Ludwig, we've talked about John.
Yep.
It's not his assistant. He is the manager for their new practice facility, which is, have you seen images of their new practice facility?
I don't know if I have.
So
I'm a Liverpool supporter, so I see all the Liverpool stuff.
I'm a Leicester City guy, just because of the Sports Turf Academy.
John does great work.
John's awesome. It's just it was funny. I was walking by him. He's like, Tiger turf grass? I'm like, oh God, yes, that's me.
That's funny.
I'm like, oh, how does he know? He's like, oh, I worked for John at Leicester City. I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
Your podcast famous.
No, not even that. No, I'll tell you a story in a minute.
Turf Twitter famous.
Either way. Yeah. But he pulls me aside and he goes, yeah, I work for John over at Leicester City. I'm like, that's awesome. Like, what are you doing here?
Holy moly.
So it's like brand new.
And that's all indoor.
This is indoor, and they have like 17 practice fields. But the thing that most people don't know is they have a golf course.
Leicester City has a golf course?
Attached to the practice
no
facility.
Kidding.
So with that, the Turf Academy has kids. They haven't, I think what I was talking about, they haven't had a full class yet, like where they've had kids come in full time. It's been more training and whatnot. But they have literally everything ranging from working on a training for 4 weeks to a PhD. Like they have a professor on staff to do research and get your PhD. I'm like, well, it sounds like a retirement thing for me going over to London and doing it there.
Just so I figure this out, like, so I don't have this wrong.
No, 100%.
Leicester City, a Premier League football club in England, has a 17-field practice facility with a golf course, and they have a full-time researcher on staff.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
So the guy last night, he's in charge of all of the facilities in the practice facility. And this isn't including King Power Stadium or anything like that. And he pulled me aside. He was like, hey, yeah, I take care. I'm like, so what are you doing? I didn't say, what are you doing here? I was like, are you with the golf course? Because like my mind's like, well, you're at the Golf Course Superintendents Association. You're here for golf. I said, no, I do all of it. I'm like, that's freaking awesome. So again, just like the random network that you make and the people you meet, and it's just crazy to me. What has that been like for you with not just the podcast, obviously with the magazine? You said 3 years now you've been doing this.
Yeah.
In that short amount of time, you've met so many people. So what has that sort of experience been like in building sort of that network for the magazine and for you personally?
Well, it helps to come in not cold. Guy has done tremendous work over the 8 years. And before him, Pat Jones, who was the editor before Guy. Pat's been covering this industry for more than 35 years. Yeah. He's my neighbor. We live less than half a mile from each other. Gotcha. And then I have to come to San Diego to see him. I haven't seen him since New Year's Eve.
Like
I passed his house.
We're literally 2 feet from each other. Why?
on the way to the playground. I see his
that's
house.
Awesome.
It's the groundwork that they laid, and hopefully, I make enough contacts that whenever Guy leaves or whenever I leave, we bring somebody else, and it's the same thing. We just try to pass along the institutional knowledge to meet so many people, mostly on Twitter first.
Isn't that crazy?
It's
because we're on all platforms, and we were like, okay, Twitter is for industry, right? Everyone in sports field and golf course and landscape, they're on Twitter. Facebook, parent. Yeah. All of our parents are on Facebook. Everybody's always like, oh, we can check out everything on Facebook. That's where the community sees it because parents share it and whatnot. And then Instagram is the student body.
Okay.
We get our stuff out to Instagram. That's like recruiting and all that. Like everybody sees that. It's crazy to see like the levels. And now we have a TikTok.
TikTok is like how old is Leah Withrow? 25?
26.
TikTok is under 27.
TikTok has gotten more and more like.
Is it older?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
They were talking this morning. A 35-year-old. He's like, "Oh, I'm on TikTok."
Okay.
Like, oh God. Like
I've signed up for a GCI TikTok. I haven't used it yet.
Let me put this all the way down.
But no, I mean to meet while you do that, to meet so many people virtually over Twitter, and then to meet them here or at other shows, or best case scenario at their own clubs most of the time where they're most comfortable. It is really fun, and it's been great to get more and more travel in. It ramped up really last June.
Yeah.
And it's been pretty steady.
I think it would be awesome to like get a camper and just drive around to all the facilities. Just be like, up in the back, we got a studio set up. Like,
well, I mean, you know Mike Rollins.
No,
from SIP. He just drives around the Southeast. I think he's based out of Tampa. I think he's here. He's tremendous.
Like I said, I don't know any.
Okay, well, you need to know Mike.
No, again, like I've been trying.
He's got this sweet truck.
Yeah.
For work. He usually parks it on the show floor. He was at SFMA.
Very nice.
And that's what he does.
Yeah.
It's great.
And it's so I forget who it was. My buddy Jake Mays used to be head groundskeeper of Fred Natzi. Now works for Nolan Field Construction or something like that. But he was talking. He was like my biggest critic. I'm like, Jake, you do understand? Like, I'm doing this for like our classroom. This isn't meant to be like a professional thing in any way, shape, or form. And he goes, you need to be more fluid, relax. I'm like, yeah, okay. This is like Dr. Goldie, our first episode. Like, I've never done anything like this before in my life. And I told him, I was like, it's hard to be fluid when you're on a Zoom call and you're trying to make sure you're not interrupting or doing anything like that. And he pulled out pulling weeds, those guys. Mm-hmm. And he's like, they're so fluid. And I'm like, because they're sitting in the room with that person.
That's a big part.
It is a huge part.
And Alan puts everybody at ease. And
100%.
Tim, I don't know if Tim was as comfortable with it at the start. I'm not saying he wasn't. But if he wasn't, he is now.
Yeah.
And Alan and Tim, the comfort level that they have in the room with all the Carolinas superintendents is just, it's look, I shouldn't say this. It is my favorite golf podcast.
Oh. It's fine.
More so. Sorry,
don't worry, we listen to Superintendent Radio all the time.
More so than anything that I produce. I love pulling weeds. I really do.
And again,
they're blasting.
My thing again with everything is just being in the same room makes everything so much easier. Like again, we're right here, we're having a conversation. Like that's why I never sent any questions because I was like, well, you don't really need to be prepared because we're just gonna be talking. So, yeah, I mean, it's been sort of after. I think it was after when you guys gave us that award. I was like, okay, I guess this is more than just a little podcast that we were doing, you know? It'd be cool to go see people and visit and just do random things like we did in Savannah, you know? That was probably the best podcast we've done with the 4 different people and just sitting there relaxing and having a good time, you know?
Makes a difference.
Yeah, 100%.
To be in person.
Oh, yeah. I also got all the stuff necessary. I couldn't put it on a flight, which again, thank you for letting us use your microphone. Did you see our setup when we were up on that? So
I've seen it.
Yeah, so we have quite a few things that we can. And it was funny. We had ordered advertising things for the backup of microphone, like Brentsville Turf stuff. Because again, a lot of people know us as Tiger Turf Talk. I'm like, no, it's Brentsville Turf's thing now. Because I'm always trying to again hype our program up and give the credit to the kids.
The king of branding.
Again, it's just for the kids. Everything, and it's funny because a lot of people are like, "Well, you're this." And that. Like, no, my kids are the ones that do the things that need to be done. You know, like I can do as much as I can by myself, but without my students, we're not successful. There's no purpose behind Brentsville Turf or anything like that. So, yeah, I mean, with that, we had these things that were supposed to be at the house before we left, and I called them like, why isn't it here yet? Like, we all got the flu. I'm like, we got the flu during COVID.
It could happen.
No, and I was like, well, my mind went straight to like COVID. I'm like, really? Sure it wasn't COVID or something? But their whole office was at like, we had to push back 10 days. I'm like, I don't want it anymore now, you know? But once COVID's over, we're trying to set up a studio in the actual building at Brentsville. So we're going to set up like a TV with the guest up here and then the microphones on the table. Kids who don't have to wear masks, if that ever happens.
It'll happen.
But yeah, I mean, it's been crazy to see it grow, you know. With everything, is there anything new with the podcast that you have that you're trying? You obviously said you expand a little bit more. Is there any like off the wall idea? I mean, off the course and everything, really, again, we were talking about brings it to the personal aspect of the human being. Is there any other area that you wish you could cover? Obviously, you have so many, so it's hard to add more to it. But is there anything that you've been interested in sort of exploring a little bit more in?
Well, I mean,
Oops.
your computer's okay. I mean, I have by design had a few more. So far, just baseball, but sports field folks on.
Yeah.
Hopefully, there's an opportunity to do more and basically take what we do for golf and do more on that side, quote unquote, of the industry. It's all the industry.
We're on the same page. We won't go into that though.
In terms of different areas, I don't know. I come up with some ideas, but Guy comes up with probably 94% of the ideas that the two of us come up with. That guy can come off the treadmill after an hour and come up with fully formed sponsored content packages, podcast series. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure. With the magazine, obviously you have so many different people you reach out to, and it reaches just being subscribers. What has it been for the magazine itself? Again, for you in the last 3 years, you've seen the growth and what you've liked and where you sort of want to see it grow to, in the sense of, again, you cover so many different areas. Is there more that you want to do? Are you guys happy with where you're at? Are there more people you wish you could reach? Maybe.
I mean, there's always more people. I can't remember exactly what the pass along read rate is. So you send it out to the superintendent. How many people does he or she pass it on to? We've made an effort in the last couple of years to try to reach more of the assistant superintendents, and
I've noticed that too.
It's tougher to reach the hourly crew just because they could come and go. Some clubs, you might have year-round folks, but a lot of places you're seasonal. You're April to end of October or whatever, and then your seasonal crew goes off and works something else from November to March and bring it back in April. So they're committed, but are they committed 12 months? No, they're not. So it's tougher to reach those folks. But the assistant superintendents, and especially the students, the folks who are going to be in this industry full-time for the next 20, 30, 40 years.
Absolutely.
Those it's not that we don't need to reach the superintendents and the directors of agronomy and some GMs, but we've tried to make a better effort to reach out to the younger folks.
And you guys have done a great job. The Gen Z stuff you guys have done, and you talking to, I think it was Harry and Zach about the writing for, what was it?
Turf Heads Takeover. And this is a standing invitation. I'm going to plug it.
There we go.
We're in February. The deadline's normally around early November. Usually, I think it's usually the Friday after Election Day.
Yeah.
That's not anything official, just how it works. But Turf Heads Takeover every December. We've done it the last 6 December issues. If you are in the industry in any capacity, superintendent, assistant superintendent, hourly worker, student, intern, researcher, professor,
Brentsville turf student,
sales. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you're in the industry in any capacity and you have a story that you want to tell, personal or otherwise, about the industry, we always accept.
Yeah, I don't know if I gave Lee a good story. It was very hard to come up with a good story about my kids. I think I narrowed it down. It was a TikTok thing. And I was like, the biggest thing about younger individuals is understanding that they're a different generation. And I first found out about that was when one of my girls, God bless her, she's a great kid. I was playing music in the classroom.
Oh, I remember this, yeah.
And playing Frank Sinatra, one of the greatest of all time. It was playing that, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, that's the TikTok artist." I'm like,
that late, great, famous TikTok star, like, Frank Sinatra.
I stopped class. I was like, "Get out." There was no reasoning behind it. I was like, I need 5 minutes, get out. Like, it was so funny. And it was like, after that moment, like, she was one of those that was like on the fence, sort of like with things. I'm like, okay, we're going to have a good time. It's fine. Like, you understand, like, the reasoning behind my reaction. And No, I understand you. I mean, with everything, it's crazy to see that generational gap, and it's something that I'm curious from you. Again, you've worked with so many different people and seen so many different things. What would you say sort of the state of the industry is when it comes to being able to talk to all levels? And again, you guys reach out to younger folks. You have obviously the top end GMs and everything when it comes to the top courses in the country. I think there's been a really big theme, and another reason why we're here. Oh, well, I'm here now. Sorry, guys. The labor is shortage and everything, and where it is going to be solved. And hopefully, there are a lot of people talking about a lot of different ways of recruiting and whatnot. So hopefully, they'll come out to our talk tomorrow, because I don't think they're aware of any high school programs in any area. Which you guys did a great job of letting people know about us. But
there's more work to do.
The sort of like overall state of the industry from your eyes, in the sense of, again, you're writing about it all the time, you're interviewing people, you're discussing different opportunities there are for individuals in and out of the industry. What is that like for you, and what do you think, where do you think we're at as an industry as a whole? And it can be, again, like you said, you and I are both field management and golf are all one industry. Even I even consider landscaping and lawn care in that industry.
We have a separate magazine. So
we talked about that too.
Yeah, lawn and landscape, older, bigger magazine. Neither here nor there. Plus, that part of the industry can pay a lot more, and that's what it, I think, really boils down to. So that was the January cover package. Numbers to know, formerly state of the industry.
Yep.
And I don't remember how many hundreds of responses we got to the survey. And then I talked with probably 15 or 20 people over the course of a month or so for more anecdotal evidence.
Yeah.
And over the last year, especially, obviously labor is the number one issue. If COVID is number two, it's a distant number two. It is
and that's
number one up here and two down here. And it was that way in late 2020
during
as well.
During the heart of you can't go outside or anything.
Right. And
it's not that much of a issue for them, because everything was booming. They were.
But it's tough. Revenues in a lot of clubs have never been higher. I don't think there's ever been as great a percentage of clubs reporting they were profitable in the last year as we had in late 2021, at least according to our survey.
Yeah.
Rounds are still up, and we'll see. I think they'll be at least steady, if not up a percent or two in 2022.
A lot of it. I think the thing is that, and again, it sounds terrible, but I think that COVID sent a shock to society. This isn't like golf or anything. Like, hey, there's an outdoors. Did you know that? Like, that's the sad truth about where we were in time. Like, kids were never leaving their houses because they were playing video games. The only time they left was for school or whatever. Parents were working too hard, spending too much time at work. Their work caused them to stay inside and be, again, elsewhere or whatever. And they were talking earlier, like, you have to deal with virtual workers now in the golf course management. Like, you can't. I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like, you have to take care of the course somehow. You can't be like, hey, sprinkler, turn on right here for me, and pull on the laptop, But there are so many things that brought back sort of the love for the outdoors. That's why, again, golf became such a big thing. Lawn and landscape, everybody wanted to fix their lawns they hadn't touched in 20 years. And that's why I think COVID came, again, way lower on the scale. I mean, they didn't stop working. It was an essential worker.
I went to a local 9-hole course in San Diego, and I won't say this because I'm working on a story about it, but the new owners bought it in January of 2020, and it was
genius.
Well, as it turns out, so they run a distillery, and then so he has three
double down.
He has 3 tech companies.
Okay.
So that's how he affords a Porsche SUV.
Gotcha.
But the I know.
Oh, wow.
I know. But the other option was, do we buy this 9-hole golf course, or do we buy a restaurant? And he was telling me, if we'd have bought a restaurant, it probably would have sunk the distillery, and it might have sunk some of the tech companies.
Right now, 100%.
It would have been the absolute worst time. And because I said, you couldn't have picked a better time
you could put
to buy a golf course,
restaurant on the golf course eventually.
Which they're doing.
Exactly.
But
that's awesome.
All this cycling back to labor.
Yeah.
It's tough because that's what's on everybody's lips. And if you listen on the floor closely enough and in the lobby, most of the conversations, I don't know most, but a lot, more than any others, are going to be about labor and how you find people and how you pay people and how you retain people. And the biggest thing is pay. Like, I think the industry average for hourly workers was about just under $17 an hour, according to our survey. And that's everybody from 16 up to 30 years.
You know what's funny to me?
Yeah.
I have no idea how, again, a golf course doesn't notice that, again, greenskeepers and their staff are the reason that they make all this money. So again, it's same thing, sports field and everything, like the whole where the game begins, like it really does. But a Wawa or a Sheets can hire a high school student at the age of 16 and pay them $19 an hour. No experience. They're not going to do anything other than maybe flip a burger, and that's the hardest work they'll do. And again, that's a corporation, so they can do that kind of stuff. But at the same time, when you're talking about with golf courses, like, you're making more than Sheets is making. Like, you know, it's not something that you can't do. It's just, I feel bad for the superintendents because they're handed a budget, and that budget line doesn't change. And when it does change, it's because they're doing a renovation or something. It's not like, hey, we can consolidate some of this and put it towards like labor.
And you're already spending usually 60 to upwards of 70% of your budget
already.
on labor. Yeah.
So
it's not much more fat to trim.
The thing that I haven't really discussed it with a lot of people, but I think the management style that everybody's talking about, like having a home life, having all these things, I think it can be solved with proper time management in a sense. So you have 4 assistants, right? Something along the lines of that.
Not many clubs do.
Which I understand.
I did talk with one that has 5.
Again,
just recently.
I've heard there's more that have a lot more. So on average, I would say 3. Mom and pops are like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
You can't not have 2 is what my thing is. And if it's an assistant, there's like a second assistant.
There's a lot of public and municipal courses with a superintendent and an assistant.
Yes. Yeah. So again, they probably get not the best pay, but at the same time they get paid more than say those people that have 5.
And that's another option. Another talking point is just like we talk about folks in sports fields trying to get more money.
Yeah.
Assistants, and some superintendents are good, but assistants need to make a greater percentage of,
we talked about that
what their superintendent makes
at the conference.
It needs to be, I don't know what the percentage is, but it can't be 30 or 40.
Yeah. So my thing with the time management sort of thing, I think when I was in New York, they did this with the Mets. Have allotted time frames for when the person is working.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to sort of understand that you can't do this with less people in the sense of, okay, we have an assistant in the morning, an assistant in the afternoon. So that way the kid who comes in the morning, or adult, I should say adult, is working until like 1 or 2, right? And then they're off. And that's the time frame they want. Some people are morning people, some people aren't. People that aren't, they come in at noon and they work until the sun goes down.
Yeah.
Like, they cover all the bases of watering, all the issues that people are always concerned about, and the assistants are staying until whatever hour because of.
Just got to work around golfers.
But again, like when you think about that, if you have 2 guys working around that many golfers, what's the difference between one of them working around those golfers? Like, again, I'm not a golf course superintendent at all. I've seen work done and whatnot. It might be different, but most of the afternoon work is just making sure your greens are okay.
Right.
And I could be wrong.
But you do have a team of 200.
But
and you talk with a lot of superintendents.
So again, with that, I think you said 200. So
you do have a team of 200.
I do, but with that, you can have hourly guys split with those 2 guys. So instead of having, and again, this allows there to be a management practice, learning how to become a leader, having those assistants grow into superintendent roles, because again, they are managing crews. But then you have kids who are working less hours, less time. They're focusing on skills. They're more relied on. And I think that is the biggest misunderstanding about retaining kids. Kids don't want to go to a golf course and do shit jobs. And
well, just engage them. That's
what I'm saying. Like, put them on an aerator one time. What are they going to do? They're walking an aerator. Like, no one's going to hit anything on a golf green because there's nothing to hit.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not like a sports field where I remember my first time doing it. I was at I think it was City Field. I did it at Tech, but at City Field we were doing all like, don't hit a sprinkler head, don't hit a sprinkler. was like, and it was so funny. One of the interns that I worked with in Pittsburgh, he hit a box. It was funny. It didn't hit anything, thank God, but it went go, 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 go. I was like, oh, please don't, please don't. He came like this close to where you put the hose in for the.
What's he doing now? Is he still in the industry? You know,
he's in golf, actually.
there you go.
Yeah, Aaron's a great guy.
Still working
Aaron
in the
Lawell,
industry.
yeah, he's a great guy. Super assistant right now. Well, he worked in Pittsburgh. He went back another year after I left, and then he went to Orioles spring training. They can't keep a person there. Like, unbelievable. They've had a new, like, assistant head, Roger Dean. It's like where all the major, like, showcase teams come to play. They have, like, a complex.
In Jupiter.
In Jupiter.
Yeah. And is it?
And nobody wants to work there because of those, again, different. It's the heart of the season. Let me add 500 games in like 3 weeks. Like, yeah, I don't want to work here anymore.
Well,
like,
Roger Dean's a crazy stadium anyway.
Exactly.
Not to get too far off, but
no, you're fine.
You know, I've been to
I'm pretty sure I'm way off. So go
I've
ahead.
been to, what, 120, 130 minor league ballparks. Some of them aren't even minor league ballparks anymore. Roger Dean is the only, I think it's still the only full-time park to host 2 minor league teams.
So again,
Jupiter Hammerheads, Palm Beach Cardinals, and then you said a lot of showcases. It's an insane
the
schedule.
White Sox have 2 minor league teams out in Arizona.
Well, that's spring.
No. And again, like afterwards.
Yeah.
I think they have the White Sox and the Dodgers. Like,
well, that's not
short A.
Yeah,
seasons.
That's not even. Like
but I hear what you're
full,
saying.
Full
Time,
season,
full seasons after spring training.
Yeah, basically. April,
and again, like
April to Labor Day.
You're talking. We've talked
off.
to a bunch of different guys. Matt Parrott in Charlotte. He has the ACC tournament now.
Yep.
You're talking about like the one time frame of the summer where they have let's throw a conference tournament in there for you. It's just, again, things like that where you don't compensate the guys like us. That's where we're losing people, and I completely understand that's the problem. Like, I feel awful, but for some reason we can't get out in front of the guys who are in charge. You know,
yeah. But that's what it's going to come down to: is if superintendents and sports field managers and other leaders in this industry can find a way to pay folks more, they'll stay.
100%.
And if they can't,
and people love it.
They won't stay.
That's the thing.
That's what it comes down to.
People love it. It's just when you're talking about, and again, like and I'm always upfront with my students. I always tell them this. I'm like, okay, if you want to be outside, if you want to enjoy yourself, there are opportunities to find where you have a good work life, but you have to work hard. You have to have a love for it. That's why, again, I get them on golf courses and whatnot before they go to college, because I don't want them going to college, having all this money spent, and be like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. You know what I mean? So, again, it's just the work-life balance is an issue, the money is an issue, and the overall sort of climate of what we are as an industry has sort of been the overall issue of, okay, we work all this time, energy and whatnot, and it doesn't come back to us, you know? And I don't think anyone's looking for anything major. You know what I mean? I think that
just a little more money and a few more days off.
That's the biggest thing is like, we're not even asking for that much money.
Right.
You know what I mean? I forget who I was talking to. I might have talked to you about this. If you take 1%, 2%, let's say 2% of every major league contract on a roster. You know how much money that is?
Let's see. The average. What is the average now? It's going down a little bit.
It's like 1.5.
No.
Really?
No. The average major league player, I think it was over 5.
Okay,
like
over 5. Okay, but either way.
But it's called $5 million.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Times 25, so about $125 million. 10% is 12.5, so that's $1.25 million per 25-man roster.
Ask the players. You know what I mean? We're talking about the NFL Players Association going to bat for turf, for natural grass to be put in every stadium.
Yep.
But they don't know us. They don't know who we are. They don't know what we do, which I could be wrong. I think there are a lot of NFL guys and MLB guys that have had good relationships with people. with players, I should say. But take 1% of every contract and then distribute that on a ground crew.
Yep.
What is 1% of a contract like to a player? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're talking about take 60% of that goes to that guy, and you're still talking about 40% of 1.5 distributed amongst 3 or 4 guys. It's still a huge pay raise for every person on that staff. And again, you and I have talked about this. They're the first line of defense on every single athlete to ever play on any game, any field, anywhere.
Well, I was Sean Everson this morning.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite folks in the industry.
I need to see him.
Yeah,
because he was great at SFMA.
And he's a big baseball fan.
Yeah,
he loves baseball. Pitched in college. His brother's the pitching coach for the Oakland A's.
Very nice.
And we always wind up talking about baseball very quickly. We talk about golf, and then we usually spend more time on baseball. And he brought up Mickey Mantle again today.
Yeah.
71 years ago, Mickey Mantle, I think it was the 1951 World Series. Trips on a sprinkler head. Still an incredible player. But what would Mickey Mantle have been had he not tripped on a sprinkler head at 20 or 21 years old and just shattered his ankle? And that was in the World Series. And you don't see stuff like that anymore in any high-level sport, really. Baseball, golf, football, soccer.
The worst thing is water comes on.
Right.
And everyone now turns everything off to make sure that nothing happens like that.
It's I think that kind of paints it into perspective. It's just like, A, look how far it's come in 70 years. And B, you don't want to get hurt.
And again, like when we're talking about the kid in the national championship game on artificial turf field, Waddle, I think it was, or Goodell, or
there were a few. I mean, it wasn't Alabama down.
But Bama, the big one.
Alabama was down their top 2 receivers for
100%.
artificial turf injuries. Yeah.
But like in the middle of the game where it was the field, it wasn't anything else because there was no one near him.
Yeah.
Like that kid is now in trouble for the draft because he has a blown knee, which they say he's going to recover, which is great. And
because he's 21.
And God bless him for it.
Power of youth. Yeah.
But the whole, now you got the question in the back of my mind. Do we want him? That might have cost him over $1 million.
Oh.
Easily,
Maybe 10. Yeah.
So, again, stuff like that, where, again, pay the sports field manager an extra, I don't know, $100,000. It's unbelievable to me that, again, multi-billion-dollar guys.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Cohen, doing great things for the Mets, right?
Yeah.
He's got $14 billion.
Well, he needs a better art collection.
And I feel like he's one of the guys
he's a great private art collector.
I feel like he's one of the guys that might actually listen and be like, okay, we do need to bring sort of, again, some understanding to what we do. But it's, again, if we somehow, again, got a pitcher or a player or somebody from somewhere, a Jordan Spieth or someone, to just advocate for us. I mean, the purse in a major championship is disgusting. It's the best way to say it, Yeah. No offense to them,
10,
and congratulations.
15, $18 million, yeah.
Just for 3 days of work. I'm not even, that's number one. You're not talking about through 40, the guys that make the cut. So it's just give 1% to the guy who just spent the last 3 years prepping that course for you. Which I think golf courses have gotten better. And I could be wrong.
You pay private chefs, you pay private airline pilots, you pay your entourage, you pay your agent.
And it's, again,
the folks who take care of the turf play just as important.
This is my thing. It's not even they're looking for that much money. We're not looking for 5% of your income. No. I'm not even saying 1%. 1% was just a number I threw out there.
It's easy to do the math.
Again, just a little bit. You know what I mean? And then my big thing, the other thing that really disgusts me with the guys who are running the show, the GMs and the owners, you put on these concerts, make their jobs more difficult, that cost them time, energy, and everything. When we're talking about overall work-life balance, they're out of town. This is their time to go see their families, but you're adding major concerts, so they have to be there for making sure that they don't destroy the field. I remember we were doing a Billy Joel concert, and Matt, my boss, we were Hawks watching the.
This is when you were with the Mets?
When I was with the Pirates.
Oh, I would have expected the Mets.
Yeah, so
Billy Joel.
Yeah, Billy Joel's amazing in person.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't know he could sing like that still.
I've been critical of the Dolans for years because I'm a Guardians fan, and the one area I cannot be critical of them in I think it was the late '90s or early 2000s. They brought in a Jimmy Buffett concert. Okay, and it totally tore up the field.
Yeah,
the Indians were great at the time. They were making money hand over fist with tickets at the time, and the Dolans didn't need the concert revenue, and so they basically said no concerts ever again in this ballpark, and there was not one for like 15 years because Jimmy Buffett's stage tore up the then Jacobs, now Progressive Field.
Damn it, Jimmy.
Outfield.
Damn it. So, and again, like that's the kind of stuff that like it's a nightmare for a groundskeeper. You're like, you're doing this in the heart of the season. I've got a game in 4 days.
Right.
You're expecting this field to look as good as it did when you took the idea of putting a 500-ton thing like on my field. We had like 2 forklifts drive on the grass, and like we denoted, like you say on the warning track, do not go on the grass.
Right.
So you're adding another 5 to 10 hour job resodding 4 spots on our field that again we have to be playable within 2 days. Like, and that again, we're talking about all like the time and energy that goes into it. We're losing people because of that. I know Justin Spillman was the Cubs head groundskeeper.
Okay.
And they wanted to bring Chicago FC into Wrigley. He's like, I'm not doing it. Like, I won't do both. So he moved on. Like, I think I don't know Dan personally, but I hear he's great. Kiermaier is his name, I think. But it's sickening to me to see guys like that who, again, have such a great impact on what we do and great understanding, losing their passion and love for it to be forced to go do something else, but sorry if I got off topic there, but our talks,
It's your podcast.
Again, I still don't feel like that, even though it is mine.
70 episodes in.
Yeah, right. You looking forward to anything in the next few days here in San Diego?
A lot of meetings, a lot of dinners, and
I can't keep up with everything.
I can't keep up.
And
with
you have a full organization that you're here for. I'm just here to present one day.
It's not that I got the fun stuff out of the way first, but there's no more golf course trips scheduled. It's all on the floor from here on out.
Who are you going to be talking to? I know you probably have a bunch of podcasts set up.
No.
Really?
No. I already recorded one. I've got one scheduled for when we get back. 2 in the studio, but nothing on site.
Gotcha.
Nothing more.
What's going on in the booth? What can people expect?
Good question. You'll see Irene Sweeney. You'll see probably Russ Warner. Maybe see Dave Zaya. I might be there for a while. So
Gotcha.
One of our events people and our national sales manager and our publisher and me respectively. I think you can pick up Turfhead's grilling koozies.
Ooh.
You can get the matching pin at the
lapel pin.
The Aquaid Solutions.
I'll have to put it next to my SFMA.
I'm sure we'll have issues. I think we have a couple boxes of issues. I think January. So the numbers are no survey.
Is the Gen Z part in there? Or?
No, Gen Z's February.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You guys are sending me a couple, but I was like, if I could grab it,
and it's just a place to tag and come for a little bit. I know Tim Morgan will be there for a little bit.
I know we talked. The awards aren't happening this year.
No, we're gonna do them virtually.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. We had a blast last year.
Yeah.
It was a great time.
It'll be fun. The videos are still online. The event itself is still online. It's still happening. But we'll probably return to the show floor in 2023.
Back in Orlando?
Yeah, it is back in Orlando.
They do. What is the cycle? It's like Orlando, elsewhere, San Diego, Orlando, elsewhere, San Diego.
I'm not sure what it is, but Orlando, San Diego, obviously. I know Phoenix has been in it. San Antonio has been in it.
Phoenix is a great place to have. Have you been to Phoenix before?
Yeah. What are the other ones? I can't remember what the other ones are.
So we got Salt Lake next year.
For SFMA.
You guys gonna come out to that one?
think so.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Like Salt Lake.
Hopefully a good time for you guys.
Sundance Film Festival starts the day the conference ends.
Really?
If you want to stay around and watch a few movies.
If I don't have kids, I might do that.
Are you going to have a kid in 12 months?
Not me personally.
Your kids.
Sir, I do not have a girlfriend. No matter how many of my kids are like, oh, Miller's got a girlfriend. See, that's funny.
See, that's with a 5-year-old, that's where my brain goes.
No, 100%. I completely understand. You
have 200. You have 200.
If I have a kid,
5 with you.
You can punch me, and you know what?
Yeah.
But a lot of people are all like, "Oh, it's so great what you're doing and everything." I was like, "I'm still a high school teacher. I still have to deal with all the craziness of being a teacher." But it's. I don't think I'm bringing kids next year, but I think we made a little splash. A lot of people were excited about it.
Yeah.
Like, hey, bring them. I'm like, the only reason we went to Savannah is because we could drive. And then this whole thing got torn to pieces because of COVID. I was like, and I'm kind of glad because I don't really think I knew enough things here than people for my kids to get
you will next
great
year
experience. We'll see. I'm trying to meet people, but there are so many people. I met a couple of superintendents, like Missouri,
wait till next year.
California. Again,
numbers,
if I'm going,
I feel like numbers.
I don't know if we're going.
I feel like numbers will be up next year.
I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure. And again, you might see it more than I do, but the sheer amount of golf courses still baffles me.
It's about 14,000.
Again, understanding that in the sense of just a spread. If you're in any suburb, pinpoint a location, do a 5-mile radius, you're going to have over 15 courses.
Yeah.
That is insane to me.
Yep.
And that's what I tell my kids all the time. I'm like, if you want to go anywhere in this world, if you want to go over to Austria on top of a mountain, I'm sure you can find at least one golf course in the middle of Austria on top of the Alps.
If you want to work on turf, you will always have work. You may not be the highest paid person.
100%.
But you will always have work. You will never be unemployed if you don't want to.
If you're happy making X money in the middle of boondock Saints nowhere, and that's what you want with your life, there's an opportunity.
It doesn't have to be boondocks.
Again, but if that's someone who wants to be, again, say in the swamps of the Everglades,
sure.
There's opportunities,
Well, the Everglades I think are protected. But outside of that,
but you know what I mean, in that area.
This is what happens when you talk to someone who writes trivia. For 10 years.
Yeah, that is true.
Sorry.
No. I correct anything I ever say. I appreciate it. It means I'm going to learn. But I mean, if you want to go work on the big courses, follow guys like Jeff Plotz and try and get in with them and have that in and then grow and become one of those guys eventually. Everyone's going to retire at some point. So, I mean, you just got to focus on your goal and what you want to achieve, and you have the people that that can take you there. I'm just one small little stepping stone, hopefully, to help you get there and make those connections. And that's why we do the podcast still. Everybody's like, oh, well, you're out of COVID technically. I'm like, well, first of all, not out of COVID, but I don't want to get in trouble for that. COVID is very real. It's still a thing, I promise. But just being able to connect with people just through a Zoom call, I guess is the best way to put it. It's been awesome, Any big plans for golf course industry in the future?
I mean,
not what we're talking about,
things
but golf specific. Sorry, I don't want to.
No.
I don't want to call you out on that now.
There's some good stories planned. There's some good packages planned. The guy always has
random
about 12 things up his sleeve, which is impressive because he usually wears a golf shirt. Sometimes he's got the pull over. It's up here. No long sleeves like us right now. It's every year's a little better. There's very little static time. There's very little, okay, we've done this, let's hold it steady. It's always, I feel like there's always areas to build and grow and do more.
For you personally, I mean, 3 years, it's not a lot of time, but you've done so much in that time. What do you personally want to be able to achieve in the next few years with this? Again,
I don't know.
Just do more podcasts, maybe more articles, maybe travel some more during the year.
A guy and I talked about this, and I think writing is still my biggest love. So writing, podcasting, social media, it's like number 5 on my list. It's
staying
down
on
the
top of
list.
social media is a pain, but I was in Tyler Bloom's presentation. I was like, I gotta put something up. So that, again, I'm so grateful to be here and for GCSAA putting me up. I'm like, I gotta make sure I'm showing face and I'm here. Like, I'm not in my hotel room. I promise. Like,
You actually are. You're the courtyard.
you know what I mean? And again, it's my first show, so I wanted to, and I heard this is new the night before for the trade show, right? This is the first time I ever opened it up the night before.
Well, I don't remember. I honestly don't remember what it was 2 years ago, how many days the show was open, but it is. This does seem to be a trend across lots of trade shows where it opens up a couple hours, say night 1 or 2.
Mhm.
The next day it's open the full day, and then
The last
the following
day is
day
the
it's
morning.
a couple hours. So it's parts of 3 days, but it's really less than 2 days.
Gotcha.
Which kind of makes it more of a challenge because you can only get to so many things in 2 hours anyway.
Again, like that's what I'm very curious to see how tonight goes.
Yeah.
I might be going, I might not be. Just got to figure out some stuff with some people. One of the guys we're presenting with tomorrow, he just got here. They've been out here for golfing and whatnot. But I'm like, hey, we gotta sit and talk. Like, he's a good friend of mine, Will Lannon. Whether that's Scott Furlong with Robert Trent Jones, when everything sort of blew up with my kids not coming, I was like, hey, you want to maybe hop on our little presentation at the conference? And he was great. And I still need to talk to him about if he needs me to change anything or whatnot. So, no, it's been interesting to experience all this. So we wrap it up on these questions.
All
right. We might get a little trivia in the middle there, but with everything, our kids are young and whatnot. I'm always interested to hear, and again, with your perspective, again, being a writer and everything, if there was something that you wish you knew, maybe again at 3 years ago or before when you first started with all this, what would that one thing be and why? Not to like make anything easier or anything along the lines, but something that you might have wanted to know when you first started in your career.
Just in terms of turf or in terms of life?
In terms of anything you want to talk about. You know what I mean? Life is usually the way I go because, again, it's more relatable when it comes to stuff. But with turf, you can go any which way with it either.
So I'm 38. My wife's 37. We've been married for, what year is this? 2022? So we've been married for 13 years, right? And it's worked out perfectly. Love her to death.
Fantastic.
We got a great kid. But we both say, and we tell kids this when we go back. We both went to Iowa University. We tell kids this whenever we go back to Athens. We talk to college kids. If you love somebody in journalism, okay, you'll find a way to make it work. But the best thing to do as a journalist is to not marry another journalist.
Okay. Is she a journalist?
She is. She's like niche editing and publishing as well.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I feel like that's a sound bit of advice for anybody in the turf industry.
Yeah.
As well, if you really love somebody in the turf industry, and you really think, this is your person, this is who you're going to be with for the rest of your life, you'll find a way to make it work. But the easier thing is if you're going to work in turf, find someone who doesn't work in turf.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit easier for turf because there's like 4 of them, so it's kind of like we're set. We're all good. No one's near me in turf. But no, I completely understand that for sure. The last thing for kids, again, with your unique perspective and everything, kids wanting to enter the industry, what would your best words of advice be for what you've learned from those that are, again, in those positions and been able to, again, sort of make those connections and understandings of what our industry is as a whole? What would be your best words of advice and why?
Don't be afraid to ever feel like you're bothering anybody.
Yeah.
Because you're not. There may be a few people in this industry who make you feel like you're bothering them, but there's not many. There are not many, pardon my language, there are not many assholes in this industry. And it took me a few years to figure out why. And I think it's because when you're dealing with the earth every day,
it's the dirt, it is.
no matter what you do tomorrow or next week or next month or next year, you're going to have to do it again. And so the earth keeps you very, very humble. So there's not a lot of jerks in this industry.
No.
So never be afraid.
And if you find them, sorry.
There's a few. There's not many.
Yeah.
So never be afraid to reach out to people. Because people want to help you.
Absolutely.
Whether it's superintendents or assistants or interns or media members, people are very giving of their time and their expertise. And the other thing is just and I did this out of school, and I wish we could have done it a little longer, but 2 years in, the recession started, and we kind of had to hunker down and do what we could, Carol and I. And we got married just a couple of months before, so not great timing.
Yeah.
But out of college or out of high school, if you don't go to college, whatever your timeline is.
Yeah.
First few jobs, don't be afraid to go somewhere different. You know, if you grew up in Virginia, don't be afraid to move to Arizona. Or if you're from California, don't be afraid to move to Michigan. And especially in this industry,
They might need to be a little afraid with the weather change, but
well,
no, go ahead.
especially in this industry, Kell Renzel,
Yes.
award-winning groundskeeper now for the Buffalo Bisons. He's, I
That's
think,
where I met him at the
yeah,
awards.
I think he's a little younger than I am. He's early mid-30s.
Yeah.
I can't even remember all the teams he's worked for because he
did make a lot of moves.
Yeah, and he set the goal. You know, he was going to move every few years, and he was going to learn as many types of turf as he could. And in this industry especially, I think there's something to be said for knowing warm season, for knowing cool season, for working in different climates, and for moving around. Now, when you get settled and you get married or you find someone you want to spend your life with, you have kids, whatever, or you get to a position where you like your job, you don't want to move, you know, that's when you put that.
When you make the move.
But when in your late teens, early 20s,
100%.
it's never easier to move.
That was sort of my take on everything. Was at Tech, I had the opportunity to work with all the new Bermuda grasses coming out because we're in that transition zone. Everybody's like, oh, Latitude, no, Northbridge, no, the Homewood 31, the Patriots when I first started. I'm like, that's great. And I'm learning a lot about how to maintain it. Like Patriots, a pain in the ass. It was so funny. It's the funniest conversation. So when I first got to Tech, like it was like brand new. It's so great. Winter kill, surviving, you know, like no, it doesn't. But having this much winter kill, well, now to what like Patriot was like orange to apples, and it was like over the years, like Patriot sucks, it scalps, it does all these things. It's like 5 years ago, all you were like, oh, Patriot's new invention that's going to change the world. So
well, we know more about it now.
And again, like it's great to sort of see that growth. And then when I was able to go up to New York and see a completely different stage and atmosphere of what the plant was, I know Bill Deacon is probably one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, head groundskeeper in New York. I felt bad because again, I was super young. It was my first big job like that I had. So I would ask like the dumbest questions.
That's
like now.
There's no dumb questions.
Well,
no, there are.
And I understand, but like I remember us talking to him because Bill's a big infield guy. He's like known as sort of like the godfather of maintaining infield. Luke Yoder is, but he's one of his guys. Bill and Luke came out here actually together in San Diego before Bill took the job when Pete Flynn retired. The infield and working with Durage before Durage. Bill, again, I was just trying to ask like some of the most ridiculous questions. Like I should know this, even though I'm a first year like turf student. I look back at it now. I'm like, Bill, I am so sorry. Like I'm so sorry I asked these questions. But no, he's like, I mean, he's one of the best guys I've worked with when it came to that kind of stuff. There was summer patch issues when I was there. It's the first time seeing it in person. Like having those opportunities again are just something that Cal and those guys can do when they go and move all these different places. So it definitely is interesting to sort of see journeys. That's what I love about doing the podcast too, is seeing everyone's journey, you know, how we sort of came about. Some people are like, well, found a job and a posting at this ballpark and I haven't left. I'm like, fantastic. You know, if that's you, that's great. But I've heard people that are like, I was on the West Coast, I'm on the East Coast, left, right, center. I'm like, oh, that's a lot of moving. Like I could never do that much, but here you are, right where you want to be, and that's awesome. You know, I know. So Zach and Harry, you met Harry for the first time, but Zach at
couple of year alums.
They want to travel.
Yep.
I'm like, that's
go
great.
For it.
You know, go international because that's what they want to do. They want to go see the world. I'm like,
just make sure you get a passport.
Yeah, make sure you can get back in the country nowadays, you know, with everything. But they want to go see stuff. Like with the podcast, being able to make connections with John and a couple of different guys. I mean, the guy at Lords is incredible. Declan, I think. Could be wrong. Sorry, I got that wrong.
There are 120 top 4 tier English football clubs, and that's just
again.
Yeah.
Then you got
Carl
Scotland.
Stanley
Yeah, you got
at
Scotland.
Wembley.
You got
That's not even a
Germany.
football club. That's just
Yeah.
the mecca of
Yeah.
soccer,
Yeah.
football. Sorry. That again, he's just year round working for the stadium and having NFL over there, having all these different things. It's incredible to see. And it was funny at SFMA. I didn't know he was coming, but John came and he's like running at me when we were painting. I'm sorry I didn't introduce you. I didn't even think about it. I was like still in shock that he was there. And he just gave me a big bear hug. I'm like, holy shit, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't realize this. Like, I would have set a bunch of stuff up. But what he's doing now is really cool. He's trying to make a connection with guys here in the States to sort of send his guys over here and maybe some guys from here over there.
Nice exchange program. That's cool.
So we're actually trying to set something up with him for our kids to do like a summer like orientation or training.
Yeah.
Little mini certification, something that I got in high school.
Leicester City's going to have like this micro, super devoted fan base in Northern Virginia now. Why are we selling so much merch right outside of DC?
To buy a bar for LLCFC, you know. But then have his guys come over that's working with us on our fields. Or I'd love to set something up with John in DC with the Nats, giving them like a ground staff opportunities, being there during the games and whatnot. Maybe something with, which actually I don't know if you know this. Apparently, the Commanders.
Yeah.
They might be moving to our county.
Really?
The stadium.
Okay. So changing stadiums, and they need to change their crest because they have the
it's
three. It's
literally the new era logo.
Well, the 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
The 3 Super Bowls on there are the years that they won the Super Bowl, not the season. You had 2 years to do this.
You're kidding.
No, I double checked.
I'm gonna be honest with you. There is nothing more Washington football team than that. Oh my gosh, that's a good trivia question for you.
I hope they change it. I really do.
I hope they don't.
I think they've been called out on it.
It's pretty funny because the whole thing was like everybody wanted Red Wolves in Northern Virginia and Maryland. And I'm like, okay, great. Who cares? Like, I'm a Giants fan, so I really don't care what you think about your team that doesn't have a name. That they were trying to not have a name. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Dan Snyder wanted to keep the Washington football team. I was like, do you want nothing to like call yours? Like, people have to have something to put their pride behind, you know?
It's unique. You're the only ones.
Still, Washington football team.
Washington FT.
Somebody was like WTF WFT. That was the first thing that came out when they changed it to that. They were like, "What is going on?" I'm like, "You guys gonna be bad over there. I don't really care." So, anything else you want to add before we sign off here? Any trivia you want to talk about?
You know what? No trivia.
Yeah.
But since before my daughter was born, and she's 5.5 now, we give her 2 rules in life, and hopefully she follows them. And I feel like it's applicable whatever your age.
Yeah.
But it's especially applicable if you're 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yeah. Be curious. Be kind. That's it. And I've found that if you are those 2 things in life, you usually have good, interesting experiences.
I love that because I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of people, especially this day and age with COVID and lost time, and you talk about how our seniors are actually sophomores.
Yeah.
You know, those 2 things will take you anywhere where you want to go in this world.
Be curious, be kind. That's it.
That's the curiosity is going to keep you going. It's going to keep you fueled for the ride. You know, wanting to do more, wanting to explore, understand whatever area that is, whether that's an online space where you're living in your own home and you're not doing anything, whether that's going and traveling the world like my brother does. Just having curiosity is going to be something that'll fuel you. And obviously, with your, again, life's work, everything, curiosity is what's going to drive what you do, you know? And I think it's probably the most underrated thing. And I think our industry does a great job of making sure it's the number one thing is being kind and being a good human being. I think that has been my number one lesson
over the past 2 years is be a good human being. Like, don't walk past people. Don't try and cause issues or anything like that. Listen, react in a positive manner. If you disagree with something, be respectful in that sense. Understand that you don't have to be kind to people because you feel like you have to. You should be kind to people because that's who you are.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. And that's huge for our kids and for people that are listening. So, well, we're going to sign off here from live at the GCSAA conference.
And trade show.
And trade show. We'll see you at booth.
I've already forgotten. 3-8. Oh my gosh. You would ask.
Sorry.
3856.
We'll see you at the booth 3856 on the trade show floor tomorrow or tonight. Anything else real quick or
I think
all
that's
set?
it. Yeah.
All right. Signing off here from sunny San Diego. Enjoy your guys' snow wherever you're at.